Trophy Horse with your hosts, Tricky Nick, Alex, Idea to No One, Sid, and Ender Phoenix.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Trophy Wars. This is episode 632. I'm your host, Tricky Mick. Alongside with me, the man, the myth, the fudgy, the cake hater. It's Alex.
Well, there's more than one of those on this podcast. And another week, another platinum trophy.
He brings the awesome, but he also doesn't know who Fudgy is. It's I yield to no one.
I mean, a cake named Fudgy, it doesn't sound like it came from the right place.
And the man who started all the Fudgy the Whale hate, it's Matt.
I mean, is it really hate? Okay, yeah, no, it's definitely hate. Fuck Fudgy the Whale.
And I don't know why you say that Yield doesn't know what he looks like. I shared a picture in our group chat. He ought to know what Fudgy looks like at this point.
Well, at the start of the conversation, you had no idea who Fudgy the Whale was.
That conversation was
which conversation?
Today.
Oh, no, I knew. I knew what he was talking about.
So you were just trolling me then?
In a roundabout way, yes.
I knew you had to have been in here for one of those conversations.
No, I wasn't here for one of those conversations, but I've been a part of one of those conversations, so I knew what you were talking about. But the whole context, no.
So,
but I figured when Alex showed his picture, I can put two and two together. I may have grown up in the middle of a cornfield, but come on now.
So for our listeners, the context, this came up because we've talked about Carvel cakes on the show before, and I had never seen them in the wild because I'm in the Midwest, you know, Tricky and Matt, who talked about before, are in the Northeast, and I finally saw some in one of our grocery stores, and I'm like, hey, that's from the show, so I sent everybody a picture of the cakes, and then I also made a comment about how we don't have any Fudgy. We don't have any room for Fudgy the Whale because it's stupid.
All right. At this point, I'm going to throw the show over to Matt, who's actually going to lead the show because I'm not feeling too well and I have to take off for a minute. So, Matt, show's all yours, buddy.
Nelly takeover is back in effect. Sorry about Tricky. Anyways, so we are going to go to that part of the show where we talk about what we have been playing since Tricky decided to peace out for a little bit. Alex, sir, what have you been up to this past week?
Well, Matt, I've been playing some, I want to say good stuff, but that's not honestly what's been happening. Finding it difficult to get back into Helldivers because I've maxed out on my medals and I can't earn any more War Bond medals until I can spend some until the new War Bond comes out. So I'm not playing that. I'm not playing that game right now, which I will continue to say, Arrowhead, you are fucking up. People, if they can't earn war medals, then they'll be like, well, fuck it, I'm not going to play your game. So stop fucking up and increase the amount of war bomb medals you can have in one time. Stop fucking up. I played a little bit of Rocket League with Nitro and Yield, about 5 games on Thursday. They've got a Cybertruck Summerfest thing going on. I remember when the summer events for Rocket League were much better, when you could get like Voltron stuff or WWF, like old school wrestling stuff like Macho Man, Randy Savage, and the Ultimate Warrior. So this year's summer event just feels crappy because it's just that stupid looking Cybertruck and the different parts for it. But they do give you a good amount of time to collect everything and do all the in-game mission. No, I shouldn't say missions, but the in-game accomplishments in order to earn everything. So there is that. But if you were looking for a big summer event from Rocket League this year, well, we got major disappointment on that regard. And major disappointment, perfect time to talk about Ratchet Clank Size Matters. You know, I finished the game. I got a platinum trophy in the game. I think George got it before me, so George also can speak to Ratchet Clank Size Matters. But I mean, just in general, a few highlights for the game. I mean, they did armor sets, which you can mix and match for different effects. They had like these elemental armor sets that you could play with, which were really cool. But also you the game's only 8 planets. I said last week 10 planets. It's actually 8. There's only 8 of them. So it's not a large game. I get it's a handheld game. It's a PSP game. So I understand. But, you don't really... I feel like in this game, it would have benefited from maybe having fewer weapons so you could play with them more. Because obviously Ratchet Clank, you upgrade weapons by using them. And there's a decent amount of weapons. And, like Ratchet Clanks usually every Ratchet Clank game has a very notable array of weapons to play with. And this game is no different. But the game being so short, I feel like they could have taken out 1 or 2 and maybe made it better so you could, level up all the weapons and, get to the Titan versions of the weapons, which in this game, the Titan versions are essentially the Omega versions where you max them out. And then on your challenge mode run through, essentially your New Game Plus, you can buy stronger versions to then level those up. But for most people, I mean, like I said, 8 planets and 4 of those are dedicated to races and Clank Arena Challenge. It's just not not an overwhelmingly fun Ratchet Clank game. I would say a very disappointing one. So, and this one was not made by Insomniac. It was made by High Impact Games. So there is that. When I guess the makers of a game are not in control or in charge of it, then you kind of can take what you can get. But again, I understand the platform, the PSP maybe had some limitations. The biggest sticking point for a lot of people in this probably is that there's going to be a grind for the Rhino because the Rhino costs 9.9 million bolts to get. There is a very, we'll say, not out of bounds way to get those numbers up fast. Once you beat the game once and you go into challenge mode, you get a bolt multiplier by basically killing enemies and not getting hit. Well, the highest you can go is 12, but if you get up to times 12 bolt multiplier, there is an area in Metalis where you get where there is a hidden titanium bolt. So right around where your ship is and where you can turn to Giant Clank on Metalis, you can use the magnet beam or whatever, the magnet item that you get to kind of mess with the polarities and stuff, to open up this big... I don't want to say turbine, but this big, basically cylindrical area. You'll see this little red thing out where you can. This is not a great description of it, but you can open up this big cylindrical like tube to where you can go behind there. There's a series of death traps. It's basically like a gauntlet where there's a bunch of enemies, a series of death traps. At the end, there is a titanium bolt surrounded by a bunch of crates. Well, if you have a 12 times bolt multiplier and you smash all those crates, you get probably around, I want to say, at least 300,000 bolts from that. So what you can do is once you get to the end of this area, there is a little warp to your ship. And then that creates a warp back to this area, the arena they call it. So all you got to do is get on your ship, go to another planet, get back on your ship, go back to Metalis, take that warp to the area, and every time you go back after you leave the planet, the boxes will respawn. So over like less than 40 minutes, maybe less than half an hour, I was able to go from 4 million something bolts, 4.7 million to the over 10 million to get the Rhino. So I was able to get the Rhino relatively quickly. And that's just a little tip from me to you. Metalis, where the titanium bolt is on the Gauntlet Death Run, use those boxes to up your numbers really quickly with a 12 times bolt multiplier. Other than that, my only big complaint about the game, and I realize I've been complaining about this game a lot, but it's just the damage that you take. On my second challenge mode playthrough, so my third playthrough overall, I got what was called the Chameleon Armor, which if you have all the Chameleon Armor as a complete set put on together, it reduces your damage by 96%, which is good. But even if you have... I kept the same armor on throughout the entire game, and I got up to, I think, was it 72 or 75 health? You started at nothing, and you get up to, I think 50 is what you top out at the regular game, and then challenge mode, you can get up to like 72, 75. With some of the bosses, especially like the final 2 bosses of the game, Luna and Autodestruct, I was dying after 1 hit every time. So... people complain about this game, the enemies being damage spongy, but I really think the problem is that the enemies do so much damage to you, with some of them even killing you in one shot. So Ratchet Clank games have never been that hard, but this game feels hard just because the damage is off. Like I feel like enemies shouldn't do as much damage as they do to you, and with the final boss fight, that can definitely cause some frustration. So overall, glad I played it, glad I got the Platinum Trophy, but this is a Ratchet Clank game I would never play again. And I think if this was your first Ratchet Clank game you ever played, I don't know that you would continue on with the series, to be perfectly honest with you. But so yeah, that's all I've been playing. Now I just got to figure out what to play. I did actually want to get Yield's opinion on that because I know that Yield loves the Jack and Daxter Precursor Legacy, which I still haven't gotten the trophies for yet. But Yield, there's another game that I downloaded from the catalog, Call of the Sea. Have you played much of that game?
Well, I'm stuck on a puzzle to the point where I'm going to have to look it up. My wife's told me I've done the right things, and I must be doing them not in the right order. But anyway, what I've played of it so far, it's a fun, interactive puzzle game. And so, but I'm not the greatest at puzzle games, so a lot of times I'll get stuck. And then when I finally realize what I need to do to move forward, I feel like an idiot because, I didn't think outside the box enough. But I'm enjoying what I've played so far.
Okay, because I mean, I know it is a relatively short game. There's like 6 chapters, but I've seen that maybe with a guide you can get the platinum trophy in 3 hours. I've
played more than 3 hours, let me tell you.
And I'm not trying to honestly, just get a cheapy platinum. But like when I looked in the at the screenshots, the environments that you went to looked really nice. Like
it's a very well drawn out game. Is the wrong word, but that's what I'm going to use. A very well drawn game.
It is an artistically pleasing game.
Yes.
And it, like I said, it's on the PlayStation Plus Extra, the games catalog. So I was just like, hey, not looking to spend a ton of money right now. This looks interesting. So,
and you play as a female protagonist in the late 20s, maybe early 30s. My timetable might be off, but it's back in a time where you really necessarily wouldn't have a female lead. And I found that very interesting.
Yeah, and I'm also considering playing a game called Still Wakes the Deep. And I don't know. It looks like very much like a high seas, like stuck on a ship, like giant sea monster kind of game. So I'm not exactly sure what I've watched some trailers and stuff like that, but it's $35, and I'm trying to consider whether I want to play it or not. So any listeners, if anyone has played Still Wakes the Deep, please let me know because I would like to get an honest opinion on that game. But yeah, that's me over after 12 hours.
All right. Well, now that Tricky's back, we can get back to part of the show that I guess some people care about. I guess most people on this show care about, which is a factual statement. Tricky, what are your updated trophy counts?
I am level 957 total trophies of 33,630 with 973 platinums. I've decided that I'm going to chill out on the spam because I'm going to try to get something special for 1,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Care to elaborate, or is it a surprise?
Well, I don't want to overpromise, but
what are you shooting for? Well, you're not guaranteeing it, but what are you shooting for?
I want it to be I want it to be a platinum that nobody ever thought I would get.
Vanquish.
I bet he's going for BioShock because BioShock, I will tell you, as someone who has the BioShock Infinite Platinum Trophy, infinitely more doable than the Vanquish Platinum. So I'm guaranteeing that he's probably going to go for that one.
I'm just saying that's my goal. Am I going to accomplish it? I don't have high hopes, but I want it to be a platinum that nobody would ever expect I get.
Okay.
Well, shit, at this point, Tricky, after all the spam you played, just almost play anything.
See, you got to ruin the moment, Alex.
What moment? The moment where you tease everybody and then leave us with blue balls?
No, I didn't tease him. I said I don't expect to get it. I don't have high hopes to get it.
Well, you obviously have a game in mind then if you're already saying that you don't expect to get it.
Okay, I will say that the game that I'm currently gonna try to get, I think there's only one person in the world that has the platinum right now.
One person in the world? Okay, I'm intrigued.
And it's not.
Come on, lay it on me because I want to be like, how's it going?
I'm going to diverge from the group and say hi to Tricky. Hold on, let it be a surprise.
What?
He's saying don't tell everybody.
No, well, I honestly I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's a game that I got a code for to review.
Is it out now? So the NDA is done?
Yeah. And I started playing it, and it was really, really cool. Really cool game. But then I looked up the platinum, and at that time, it was 0.0%. And then I started researching it, and I found out that one of the trophies was glitched. And they never patched it. Then, just randomly, I was looking on my phone, and on Android phones, I don't know if your iPhone users know this, but you can scroll to the left, and it gives you like a list of articles that follow your interest. And an article popped up saying that somebody finally achieved the platinum, and then the person described how they did it. But
well, at least they were nice enough to describe how they did it.
Yeah, but nobody else from the time of seeing that article, nobody else has gotten the platinum. So I don't know.
Well, it's a good thing that you didn't actually give them a score or a review, because it'd been like unattainable platinum or nearly unattainable platinum, 0 stars.
Well, I did message them saying that this was an issue, and they acknowledged it was an issue with the game. But they didn't know how to.
They didn't care.
No, they didn't. They don't know what's causing the issue, because on their end they could pop it at random, but on the wide release copies, for some reason it's glitched out.
Should we tell other people the game's name? Well, you said you forget it, but I mean,
I'm actually trying to look it up right now.
For the sake of other people who want to play it, maybe they see it, and just so they know there might be a glitch trophy.
I'm gonna scroll through my list and find the name. But in the meantime, why don't you tell everybody your trophies?
Yeah. Well, I am level 506, total trophy count of 9,933 with a platinum count of 174 in 174 and 173 games. As I said before, got another platinum trophy this week in Ratchet Clank Size Matters. It's how you use it.
That's what I've heard on multiple.
Well, that's what Ratchet and Clank told me. It can't be wrong, right?
Ratchet and Clank's not the one I want to hear that from. Yield, sir, your trophies.
So, I am currently residing at a level. Sorry, I had a hair in my glasses. Residing at a level 513 with an outstanding trophy count of 10336 and a whopping 190 platinums to date.
Okay. Tricky, you have an update for us?
Yeah, the name of the game is called Wanted Dead.
Never heard of it.
And apparently more people have gotten the platinum, because according to PSN profiles, 53 people have the platinum now.
Well, you should be able to get that easily. Then.
It's a .001 rare platinum on PSN profiles.
Sounds ripe for Gareth's rare platinum or whatever the rarity contest is.
If I'm able to,
that's what it's called, the rarity contest.
If I'm able to get that platinum, I will definitely have a lock on the rarest trophy in the contest.
Okay.
I'll see you in hell, Tricky. Not unless somebody
else goes and gets it as well.
Let me see what this game's all about.
All right. While Alex does that, I have not had any changes to my trophy count. I'm still level 220 with still 1,311 trophies. But my latest achievement on Steam was Croce in Vampire Survivors, where I defeated a total of 100,000 enemies.
Damn, that's a lot, Matt.
That's just early on in my Vampire Survivors career. I had some friends take me through and guide me as to what I actually have to do in that game. But and Sid has, on his new account, he's level 27 with 82 total trophies, 0 platinums. So soon enough, Sid, you'll be beating me. Back to what we were playing, Yield. I don't think you had the chance to go yet.
No. So, let me bring it up here. I've been playing some Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine. I've got myself to where all I really got to do is play on hard and then grind to 40,000 kills for that platinum. So that'll probably be a next month's platinum. I played a little bit more of Gatling Gears, working towards that 100%. Played some Rocket League with Nitro, played some World of Warship Legends, finished out my Enterprise campaign. So other than just kind of doing my bureau ships, because I have some premium days left, that's really all I'm doing with World of Warship Legends. Fired up Life is Strange long enough to I didn't earn any trophies yet, but I got to a point to where I was like, how do I want to play this? Do I want to, because, when they explain to you how you can rewind the game, so to speak, rewind into the past. And even when you make a crucial decision, you can rewind and change your mind. And I was like, I kind of stopped at that point. And I'm like, how do I want to play this game? So I kind of stopped at that point. I've been played a little bit of Monster Hunter World, trying to get my 50 guild cards, slowly but surely getting there. And I've been playing some Thief Simulator. Oh,
yes, you have. I saw that.
Yeah, and some We Were Here Expeditions, The Friendship. Been playing that too.
That's the fourth game, right?
Well, okay. It's the fifth game, but it's not necessarily tied to the 4 original games.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. That all you?
At the moment, yeah. Something might pop into my head that I may have been messing around with, but we'll call that good for now.
Okay. Tricky?
I've been playing the First Descendant the most. I caught up on everything I did in Division this week. Not much more I can do. So now I'm just waiting for the next week for those activities to start. Playing the First Descendant. I'm having a good time, but it's really turning into a grind fest. I think I need 4 more trophies, and one of the trophies is get 5 Descendants. I currently have 3. And in order to unlock the Descendants, especially like the starter ones, I should say, it's because there's more complicated ones. You have to play certain missions, and those missions have a 20% drop rate of the item you need. And I wound up playing a certain mission at least 75 times, and it did not drop. And then I was reaching out to Felicia, who I haven't talked to in a while because I saw her playing it as well. And I was complaining to her, and she's like, just keep going. Then I booted up the game the next day, and then both missions dropped it on the first shot. So I was able to get my 3rd Descendant. The other trophy I have to get, another one of the trophies I have to get is I have to expand the module capacity of a weapon that uses special rounds. I thought I did that already, but apparently I got to do it again. But it's turning into a grind because one of the trophies, which is called Slot Maketh Model, you have to assign a module socket type 10 times. And in order to do that, you either need to pay real money to unlock the things, which I calculated it's going to be $100 if I want to unlock it and just buy it. Or I can grind it. But the thing I'm reading is that it takes like 20 to 30 hours to grind for just one of these. And you have to do it 10 times. Then I also read in the trophy guide that there seems to be a new thing in the newest patch where you have to do this all 10 times in the same game session. Otherwise, it doesn't count them. So I can just imagine the people that are unlocking one now and don't know this, that are trying to unlock the trophy, that their grind is basically have to start all over again once they get the items.
So wait. Do you have to pay the $100 10 times, or is it just one? Is it just $100 for everything?
You have to. I would have to spend $100 in the crystals, like their unique currency that in game, and then I can just go into the game and buy that item 10 times.
Seems like they made it so hard that it's just you would want to actually spend money to do it.
Well, it is a free-to-play game, so they are trying to entice you with microtransactions and stuff like that. I mean, you could also buy Descendants, and they range anywhere from $20 to $100, depending on the Descendant you want. You can get the Ultimate Edition of a Descendant. There are a lot of cosmetics, a lot of things, but it's just there's no easy way to say this. There are people out there that are buying like the dirtiest, sexiest outfits to put on their characters.
Well, yeah.
And like I joined a Facebook group for the game, and all I'm seeing is like seeing all the female characters in the most scantily clad outfits, like a nurses, a French maid. I'm like, this is not what this game is, guys.
Apparently, it is tricky. But so I understand they're trying to make money, but you can do that by enticing people to support your game because they have fun playing the game. This just makes it seem like people would want to spend money because it's such an egregious grind. And that's the wrong reason to spend money on a game. That's I'm glad that I know that about this game because fuck this game. I will never touch this game.
Okay, so it sounds bad, and I know that like everything like that. And I'm not saying that I'm not trying to get you to play the game, but RNG has always sucked for me. Like I when it comes to drop rates, it's always sucked for me. In every game I've ever played. I don't know if I just have that bad luck or what. The grind, if you were to go in and hypothetically just got the item you wanted on the first shot every time, the pieces that I need would probably only take about like I say 3-4 hours a piece, which is not bad.
Well, here's the problem with Tricky is that RNG, they can also kind of tilt that in their favor by making certain items harder to obtain through that method. So they, some things are more common, whereas other things are more rare. So they can they can set the RNG where the reason it seems like you have bad luck is just because you're getting more common items. And the things you actually want are kind of hidden behind, less chance.
Yeah. And then the other trophy I need to remove 2 Colossi parts off of a intercept battle, which I've tried to do, and I've reached out to Felicia to see how to do it. Apparently, I'm doing it wrong because you have to fight and you have to shoot the weak point of a Colossi, and then you have to grapple on it and basically like knock it off. And I just haven't been able to grapple. And Juno has something to say about that. But yeah, playing that. Played a couple of the spam games. I'm trying to look to see if there's anything significant. NHL 24, I played a little bit. I try to do a game a day, going through the season. And that's all I've really been playing. I hit a stopping point in Ratchet and Clank, so I don't think I played it this week. Just some of these enemies are just bullet sponges, and no spoilers, but I finally got to Alex will know this. Got to the fight where you're fighting like a lawn or like a farm piece of equipment.
A combine.
Yeah, and that fight is just ridiculously hard.
No, I mean, I don't know if you were here when I was saying, but basically the problem is that the enemies do too much damage to you. I mean, they can kill you in one hit.
Yeah. So.
Now, you will remember there is a rewind feature tricky with this game.
Yeah, I use it quite often. And it's
throwing it out there.
Yeah, I'm using it quite often, and I'm getting so aggravated.
Well, I think with that particular fight, with the it's hard to see the projectiles she throws out because she throws out little gas bombs and then also like little energy beams from the combine's little thresher thing. But they are hard to see when you're in battle, so it's easy to get hit by stuff.
Yeah, I've stated before on the show, like the camera system in this game is absolutely horrible. Horrible. It's hard to see anything around you. But that's it. That's it for me.
Okay. This week, I've dabbled in a couple different games. Played more Chained Together with some friends, which is hilarious fun when you cause everybody to fail a single jump because you can't time things right. Also put in more time in Dave the Diver, though not a lot, Alex. Just inching along. I know. It's your weekly frustration.
What the hell was that?
Yeah, he really wants to talk about the secret boss that I'm supposed to say, and I just don't know when I'm going to get to it.
Me want.
Well,
sorry, guys. I went back to my caveman days there.
you can discuss it at any point, Alex. I promise not to get upset on any spoilers.
So if I sent the picture to you, you're not going to be like, Alex, you son of a bitch.
No.
There's a grin on your face. I don't believe you. I will withhold.
Also put more time into Elden Ring's DLC, The Shadow of the Erd Tree. On PC, we did this wonderful thing called the Seamless Co-op mod, which allows me and my friends to play the game at our leisure with each other as opposed to at just specific summon points. So I made a bunch of progress there. The aforementioned Vampire Survivors, which, again, with some friends' help, managed to reach the 30-minute time limit for the first time. And Death swiftly came in and kicked my ass. And finally, some Spyro Reignited Trilogy on the Steam Deck, which I never played the original Spyro, so I'm very interested to go through. Games are very rudimentary, some very basic gameplay elements. I'm hoping something more happens, otherwise it could be very boring. But other than that, really not much else that I played this week. Another crazy week for me, but glad I got some gaming time in. I did download they made available the, Rise of the Ronin on the PS5. They now have a demo for it. So I've been interested. I downloaded that. I'll probably break into that sometime this week. But that's all that came out of my gameplay this week. So we are going to move on to the news now. And this first article comes from the PlayStation blog and by Hiromi Wakai.
Heck of a source. Love that. Go straight to the source, Matt. Go straight to the source.
Straight to the source.
None of this IGN.
Hold on. I am not going to take the disparity of this week. I put together this week's agenda, and there's literally only one IGN article.
I thought you were going to sit here and defend IGN. You're just defending yourself making this.
No, you're giving Matt credit for going to the PlayStation blog. Tricky went to the PlayStation. Tricky went to the PlayStation.
He seems to be taking this very personally.
You say go straight to the source, Matt. Go straight to the source.
Okay, well, Matt's hosting.
You wouldn't have said that if I was hosting.
From the PlayStation blog.
I sure would have.
New features are rolling out to the PS5 beta. By the time you listen to this, a number of the features have already gone out. So just be aware this kind of rolled out between last week's recording and now. So new features and refinements are coming to the PS5. The new beta rolled out introduces personalized 3D audio profiles for headphones and earbuds. So depending on the hardware you're using, you can have individualized profiles. And then those who adopted the slim PS5 models will also have access to test the adaptive charging for their controllers. Basically, this is just a way to help save power by adjusting the length of time that power is supplied to controllers based on battery level. And finally, the update also brings the ability for individual profiles to have different remote play settings. So again, I'm not a user of any of these, so I really can't speak to any of that. Yield, any of these things you'll take advantage of?
No, I use my cheapy $15 headset that I got from Wally World. And it works just fine for what I use it for.
Don't mention Wally World in front of Clark Griswold. He might have some PTSD tied to that place.
Well, good thing he's not guesting this week.
Exactly. None of this applies to me, so I just don't care. I'm sure somewhere out there, just honestly, none of the features we ever talk about when it comes to PS5, I always basically just forget them as soon as we end the show or really end the topic, because I'm just like, I'm never going to use that. Hey, for someone out there who's going to use this, that's great. None of the beta stuff ever. It's why Tricky offers us access to the beta, and I'm always like,
what the hell is V doing?
She is feeding Zelda, and for the listeners who are not here on Twitch, my lovely wife is in the background doing a wavy dance, which surprised Tricky for some reason.
She was giving all of the good vibes, the best vibes to Zelda the Best Girl.
I was just wondering what she was doing. That's all.
She's living, Tricky. She's living her life. You need to.
That's fine.
Living her best life.
That it out.
Yeah, there's nothing ever in these PS5 betas or updates I truly care about, honestly. I'm very simple when it comes to my console video game play. I basically plug it in and play it, and I don't really care about all the little nuances to it. So very much the opposite of someone like Tricky. I'm the everyman's gamer.
Then on the opposite end, Tricky, are you going to be using any of these features?
Yes. And I am actually in the beta, so I can confirm, but not detail, that there are actually more features in this beta than what was announced. And some of those features, I think a couple of you guys are going to enjoy immensely.
Oh,
Can I delete trophy games with trophies earned under 10%?
No.
Okay, then I don't care.
What was that yield?
I said you'll have to tell us off air.
Sure, I can do that. But I
Wait,
do.
Are you prevented from talking about those things?
I'm under an NDA. Yes.
All right.
I do have 3 codes. I have. They gave us a code, and each code can be used up to 5 times. It's been used twice now, so I do have the code for 3 more people. If you are interested in getting it, I didn't see in the email whether or not it was U.S. restricted, so it might be for people across the pond could possibly use it, but I can't confirm that because it didn't say U.S. only or whatnot. But there are some features in there that we're not allowed to talk about yet that are out in the wild. I did have to sign an NDA. And I also, part of signing the NDA was if I gave the code to somebody, I had to tell that person not to speak about it.
I didn't sign shit. So you're on the hook for somebody else, Tricky?
Well, if I was to give you the code and then you weren't to start blabbing, I don't think I'd face any legal trouble, but I probably would not receive beta codes in the future.
You know what, Tricky? I'll take one of those beta codes. How about that?
You're not getting one now.
Touche.
I promise not to say anything as my fingers were crossing.
I will not squeal like a little piggy.
Listen, I may have been born at night, but I wasn't born last night. And the way you set that up, that was classic going, I'm going to find out these features. I'm going to blab them just to screw Tricky over.
Tricky, I promise not to blab about any of the features. Can I get a code?
Absolutely. I'll send it.
Alex, I'll talk to you after the show.
All right. Now, see, and I was just about to hit Control V to give it to you.
Tricky, I have to give you credit. You sit here and you get mad at me because I give you shit. I have to give you credit for that little saying. I was born at night, but not last night. I like that. That was good.
Don't waste the code on me. It'll go better to other people.
Well, honestly, that's why I didn't offer it to you, Matt, is because I know you're mostly PC and that you only turn on your PS5 for certain occasions, and by the time you turned on the PS5, the update would have been out officially.
Whenever Spider-Man 3 comes out. All right. Anything else on this topic before we move on, gents?
No, I like I said, I can't tell you some of the features, but some of the features were previously talked about. I can just tell you that, but I can't tell you particularly which ones.
My memory is bad. I don't remember what I had for dinner last night. So,
yeah, it's a beta, and the biggest problem that people are having is that it seemed to have crashed like a couple systems, but it's easy. You can just go back in and reinstall the old software and then re-download the beta, and then it worked. So
okay,
that's a step too far. I'll tell you that much for a beta.
Well, I mean, any beta out there you're gonna have issues with.
Also putting in some work are the fine folks at Warner Brothers who decided to acquire the developer of MultiVersus, coming from IGN, Cat Bailey. Player First Games, known for its development of MultiVersus, now has a new home at Warner Brothers. The announcement came ahead of the Season 2 of the game. But in addition to the ranked mode, the platform brawler also added Samurai Jack and Beetlejuice to the roster. Warner Brothers Games President David Haddad said in a statement, "We have worked with Player First Games over several years to create and launch MultiVersus, and we are very pleased to welcome this talented team to Warner Brothers Games. The bright and creative team at Player First Games adds to our extensive development capabilities." Not quoted, editor's note. I'm expecting cuts to happen soon whenever there's a purchase like this, so don't be surprised, folks. Yield, what do you think about this?
Well, Samurai Jack caught my interest, but I don't know. Never played multiverse. I'm not into brawl games. So Warner Brothers does not have the greatest history of standing behind their game developments. So
That's not true. They stand behind Mortal Kombat pretty good.
Well, how the hell do you not stand behind Mortal Kombat?
Well, I mean, Mortal Kombat has sold itself. Warner Brothers hasn't. They're just the lucky people that have the rights to it.
Touche.
You name me other games that have survived more than just their initial launch, where people have gone back to that game.
I'm gonna have to Google it to see what games they've actually made because I'm not exactly sure.
Have they done a bunch of the Lord of the Rings games, like Shadow of Mordor and all that?
I mean, if they did, then that just proved my thought wrong. But anyway, I don't know. Didn't they do Split Second, or was that Disney?
That was Disney. That was Black Rock Studio, which Disney shut down.
Okay, Disney did it.
Saber Riders jumping in chat saying that was EA.
I have a list of their games. I'm just going to the most recent ones.
Alex, what are your thoughts?
He was saying EA for Shadow of Mordor and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
My thoughts on this. Well, I could never get. I like the concept behind MultiVersus, but I could never get behind that particular game because, look, I played a ton of Super Smash Bros. Growing up. I played a ton of Ultimate, and I really think that team really did a good job of pulling in characters that all made sense fighting each other. MultiVersus had the opposite effect, where I look at their roster, I'm like, yeah, sure, you brought in a lot of notable names, but I can pinpoint numerous people on this list that could just wipe the fuck out with the rest of the field. Like, yeah, and like I enjoy, Scooby-Doo, but do I want to fight with Shaggy? No. And if I actually want to win, it seems like some of the I don't know, like Samurai Jack and Beetlejuice, like interesting concepts, but again, don't mesh really well when it comes to actually having a collective brawler. And I guess that is part of the challenge of balancing everyone, is the fact that you have to make every character viable in some way, or at least do your best, because as we all know, even with Super Smash Brothers, some characters were never viable. But my problem with this game has always been, the suspension of disbelief. I just can't do it because I can't see some of the characters and then think that, oh yeah, they could actually win this fight or want to play as them. So with Warner Brothers, I know that when Warner Brothers Discovery has been under, cost-cutting measures. They just Warner Brothers Discovery just lost the NBA rights. So I don't know how well this is going to go for the MultiVersus developer. We'll see. But Warner Brothers is one of those companies where I have always seen that their games division kind of was, I don't want to say on the rocks, but was definitely one of those. If I saw news that Warner Brothers was selling off their games arm to somebody else like Sony or Xbox or something, I wouldn't be surprised if they just started offloading their games department. So maybe this is kind of them standing firm and saying, hey, we got a commitment to making games. They bring in a lot of money. They also cost a lot of money, but it's a big chunk of the market, so we're committed to it. So maybe this is a good sign. But also, I'm not really. With what all I've seen is that they're undergoing cost-cutting measures as a whole of the company. I'm a little bit wary of anything they buy, especially in the video game industry. Whereas we've seen overnight and with one bad game, a studio can be shut down.
Just to answer your question, because I looked up a couple of the games, they are making the upcoming Wonder Woman game. They are behind all the Batman Arkham games, Hogwarts Legacy. They were a big proponent of all the original Lego games, Hitman series.
Well, then see, totally don't know what I'm talking about.
The Middle Earth Shadow of War.
That is a Lord of the Rings game, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. So at least they've spread those around. So okay, I knew there was something that they did in that universe.
They were behind. I just saw a couple other ones. like I said, a lot of the Lego games, they were behind DC Universe Online, which is still going. Doesn't get a lot of popularity, but it's still going. They just released a PlayStation 5 version of the game. Yeah, so they've had a couple good series. I don't think they have Hitman anymore. I think IO went in independent. So I don't think they have Hitman anymore. But they've been behind some good games. Bastion, they were behind.
Wasn't IO part of the Square Enix at one point?
I don't know the history of IO.
Because I feel like the Hitman series was sold off to somebody.
Hitman, IO left and went independent, and they took the Hitman license with them. I don't exactly remember all the details of that. And they were they were acquired by Eidos Interactive from 2004 2006, and then let's see. In May of 2017, Square Enix announced that they had withdrawn funding from IO Interactive and began negotiating potential investors that wanted to purchase the studio. So Square Enix had them, which would line up with. I just blanked on the name. Would you just say, Alex, the name?
Square Enix?
No, the other Crystal Dynamics.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean they've been behind some good games. Yield. Now, can you give Warner Brothers the credit, or do you give the development studio the credit? That's another question. But yeah, they've published a couple good series.
Well, if they're smart, they'll publish more Harry Potter games.
They have a Quidditch game coming out.
Yeah, of which, strike while the iron's hot. Good job. Any other thoughts, Tricky? Because I know you kind of going back and forth off about his comments.
No, I mean, listen, I played a few rounds of MultiVersus. Like Yield, it's just not my jam. I'm not into those brawlers. But if you're any kind of a Smash Brothers fans and have any appeal to these characters, I don't see why you wouldn't jump into this. I mean, there's a lot of Smash Brothers characters that I wouldn't consider to be brawlers, but they threw them in the game, and it seems to work.
All right. So I don't play it at all, so I have no skin in the game here. But hopefully it gives them the resources they need to be able to succeed with whatever they're trying to do. Because Smash Brothers has been out for a while now, and I'm sure needs to be a contender. There needs to be some challenge to the king.
Well, there's always been Brawlhalla and the Nickelodeon All Stars Brawl, which they came out with a sequel. So there have been challengers, but we'll see if MultiVersus is able to make a larger footprint than even those games.
But speaking of big footprints, big things are coming to Helldivers 2, coming from the PlayStation blog written by Catherine Baskin. August 6th, Escalation of Freedom drops. This is going to be the largest edition of the game to date. It's going to have new enemies, new mission objectives, a new difficulty level, and more. So the new difficulty level called Super Helldive is the newest difficulty, and Arrowhead has come out and said that they were surprised that some players just keep coming back to them saying, we want something more difficult. We want harder modes. So they've added this in to appease them. Players from the original Helldivers will recognize a returning enemy, the Impaler, basically just a set of spiked tentacles. And also coming in are new Spore Chargers, the Terminated Alpha Commander, and the Automatons are getting a rocket tank. Evidently, some other surprises are coming in that you'll have to experience for yourself. And a new objective type. So for those who are feeling weirdly endearing towards bugs, there's a new escort mission as well. We call those traitor detectors. And finally, Arrowhead spoke to the process by which kicking people at the last moment will result in the kicked player being transported to their own map while keeping items collected during the run. So what happens is there's a griefing process out there where somebody will kick a player right at the end of the map. And what that does is before this patch comes out, if you collected any sort of sample, so regular, rare, or super, that kicked player would not get those rewards.
That's
so
fucked up.
What it is, and a lot of players are doing it, and for really no reason. Maybe they just hate the player that's in there. Maybe they think that they don't deserve the rewards. So now what this is doing is it's putting them in their own map, and they have the opportunity to pick up those items as they will just be dropped on the ground for them. Nobody loses, everybody wins, and we'll see what happens. So, Tricky, any interest in this new stuff that they're adding to the game?
No, I'll just log in every 3 days, get the major credit medals, and then log off, and then that's it. That's all I'm going to do.
Alex?
I'll take it topic by topic. I have not experienced any of that griefing that they were talking about. I mean, I don't doubt that it's out there, but I just have never been kicked from a game at the end. Usually, if anyone's kicked me, it's after we've completed the mission. We're back on the ship on the Super Destroyer, and I've been kicked there. But no one's kicked me at the end of a mission to screw me out of rewards. So I do appreciate anyone I played with not doing that, because that would suck. But it's nice to know that Arrowhead has found a fix for people who are getting screwed out of well-deserved rewards. I like the new enemy types. Well, an airborne tank like a rocket tank. I don't know if it's by rocket tank.
It's a tank that shoots rockets.
Oh, okay. Because I was saying another airborne enemy might be really fucking annoying.
Definitely need some kind of air support if that happens.
Yeah, I mean the Impaler, which looks like a more like a giant monster movie creature, that kind of gets enough vote for me. I like the Spore Chargers. That's a very, a nice twist on the Terminids and the bugs. Obviously, we have the Spore Nest or the Spore Trees, and now you kind of incorporate that with one of the larger enemies. I mean, I think that's pretty clever. But I will say that I have no idea why they are sitting on the Illuminates. Apparently, there is a years-long plan they have for this game, but I just don't know. I think they've been sitting on that third group for a long time, and they may want to consider throwing them out there sooner rather than later, because at the end of the day, you can introduce new bugs and new Terminids and new automatons, but we're still fighting the automatons and the Terminids, and it's getting a little old. Having the Illuminates in there might freshen it up, and absence makes the heart grow fonder, so if for some reason the automatons or the Terminids disappear for a bit, people are going to be like, man, I really miss fighting those bugs, I need to really finish my Starship Troopers fantasy fiction, and I can't do that unless I can fight the Terminids and get ideas. And then the other thing was another hard mode. I've not tried the hardest difficulty, the Helldive difficulty, so I'm not going to touch it. I'm at this point just trying to enjoy the game, collect enough samples to upgrade my ship modules, once a new Hell or a new War Bond comes out. But yeah, the new difficulty is not for me, but it is nice that, if there is a demand for it, that they're meeting that. So overall, I mean, a good update, but to me, it's not really a major overhaul to the gameplay. And I feel like the community needs a jolt of something that new enemy types, new bugs, new automatons just will not do. They need, I don't know if it's like they incorporate boss fights where, you get a really super special reward from beating that boss, extra War Bond medals, super credits or something like that, for finding it, tracking down this boss and defeating it. You get more than, something like now, if there's a mission where you defeat a big enemy, it's like, hey, defeat a Bile Titan, you get requisition slips. Well, maybe if there's super special bosses in the map or rare ones, you gain something super special. So overall, I mean, I appreciate the work that still goes into the game, but it doesn't feel like the jolt the community needs to kind of liven things up, because it feels like the community is very stagnant at this point, mostly because we're stagnant on the map, and that's not a good feeling.
All right.
I caught that what there, Tricky.
Yield, is this going to get you back into the game?
Well, I mean, I'm sure I'll mess around a little bit once it launches, just to kind of see the new enemies. The Super Helldive, my friends and I might give it a whirl. I'm pretty sure we have beat a Helldive round. If not, I'm sure we'll have to unlock Super Helldive. So I mean, that's it. I mean, I'm kind of like where Alex is. I was playing a few weeks ago just for something different. My one of my buddies was playing, and I was like, sure, let's play. And I maxed out my war medals. So I'm like Alex. I've got all the war bonds done. I'm at max medals, and besides just playing for super credits and samples, there's really not anything calling me back to be like, hey, let's keep playing this, other than a buddy playing, and I'll jump in and play with them.
That's fair enough. Yeah. I mean, I still have room to grow because I didn't blitz the game like a lot of other people did. So I still got ship upgrades and other stuff.
I feel attacked, Matt. I feel attacked.
Well,
hey, how's that secret boss in Dave the Diver?
What do you mean? How's that secret boss?
Just saying, if you focus
I just want you to experience the fun, Matt.
Yeah, I extend my enjoyment of games. Just like I don't care about trophies, I don't care about completing games either. It's another thing you guys need to know about me.
I'm rooting for you, Matt. I'm rooting for you. I don't understand that. How do you not want to play a game and then finish it to the end? Something feels incomplete. I can't have that in my life, Matt.
Some games drag on a little too long.
Final Fantasy.
Ratchet Clank size matters. Got the game just for you. Ratchet Clank size matters.
Oh, I just avoid games that I don't need to play. But as far as games out there, Capcom is not giving up on games, specifically physical games. Coming from Video Games Chronicle, I didn't capture the author, but during a recent earnings meeting, Capcom stated that it has no intention of abandoning physical media. Wow, I think I'm going off the deep end here. This is despite their figure of 90% of their sales being digital. And they're projecting that percentage is going to go up to 93%. Though it does seem to be taking this on a case-by-case basis, because they're releasing Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess, which is being released as a digital-only title. And they do quote about other games in there that, like Alan Wake 2, that were initially released digital only and then eventually get a physical release. So it seems like Capcom is holding fast in the bastion of developers and systems going digital only, and they feel like physical media still has a presence. Tricky, what are your thoughts on this decision?
I'm glad going digital only. I can't stand collecting physical media anymore. I don't want shit clogging up my shelves. I don't want to be looking for a game that happens to be in another case. Just let me download it and move on.
Okay. Yield.
Well, I for one am glad that they are still supporting physical media, because I put my games back in the cases that they belong in, so that way I don't have to run around and go, damn it, what 5 games have I flip-flopped my cases? Tricky.
I said that solely to trigger you.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not really triggered. I just forgot to pick on you. I mean, whatever. I mean, it is what it is. I don't condone people who are going digital only. I like to physically hold on to my game. And I'm still holding on to every bit of the argument of a physical game needs to be cheaper, or a digital game needs to be cheaper than the physical copy.
Hey, let's be real. I mean, with how frequently games go on sale these days, Sony's got like sales overlapping. On release, they may not be cheaper, but soon enough, I mean, you'll find a digital version of a game cheaper than you would ever find it physical.
Now, hey, but believe me, when that happens, I do sit there and go, oh, okay, it's on sale for the PSN for this. Can I buy it physical for the same amount of price? And if I can't, then I'm like, I pull the trigger and get it digitally.
But let me just add a counteract to your statement about the game should be cheaper, because we've said this on the show.
Ahead.
We've said this on the show before, but I particularly don't have a problem with digital and physical media being the same price, because I think, and I know everyone's going to say corporations are greedy and shit like that, I think that because it's the same price and they've spent less to produce it, and the fact that like they didn't have to pay for shipping, they didn't have to pay for packaging, they're making more of a profit. And I think, and I have no evidence of this, but I think that's part of the reason why game prices have not risen so much is because they're able to save that cost and they're able to keep game prices down. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes sense, but until I see hard facts that agrees with you, it's a theory. And I'm not denying your theory, but I somehow believe that the developer is not getting all of that extra money.
Oh, it might be just the publisher. 100%. I particularly don't, excuse me, I particularly don't have a problem with it, but I that's the way I tend to, I try to think. But obviously because I've gotten all digital, do I want a cheaper game? Yes. But I really, at the core of it, don't have a problem with games being the same price. That's just my little 2 cents.
Alrighty. Alex, your thoughts on Capcom saying, nope, we're going to stick with physical?
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, they are still putting out a digital product, so they're going to get all those sales, and they can still collect, sales from the people who want physical. I don't expect that most companies will. I mean, Sony is pushing as hard as anyone towards a digital future, and they're still putting out copies of their games. So, I mean, it makes sense to do it on a case-by-case basis. If there's a smaller game you may not sell as well, maybe a little more niche, you put it out digital, you don't put it out physical. But if you got one of your other big games, like a Monster Hunter game, well, yeah, it behooves you to put that out physical as well, because it's going to sell really well, and you're still, even at 10%, going to get a ton of people to buy that. So why not make that money? I mean, even if, say you have 1 million copies sold of a Monster Hunter game, and 10% of those are physical, you still have 100,000 sales there from physical copies, and that's how much in extra money you get. So, it doesn't make any sense to me for them to completely disregard physical sales. I'm sure in the future, if it comes to 100% sales or digital, then obviously physical sales are going to go away. But for your biggest games, it 100% makes sense for them to release a physical edition.
Yeah, I think it's still I don't know if it's a smart move or just a move. I mean, the problem you have is when the rumors are swirling that Best Buy and Walmart are going away from physical game media, even though they still have them in certain stores. I've seen other stores wiped out completely. GameStop is GameStop, so we'll see how that goes. But at what point do they say it's not worth it anymore because there's no vendors for us to push our hardware or our physical media to for sales? So maybe the decision's going to be made for them in the near future.
Hey, you know what? I'm sure that Amazon, even if Best Buy and other places do get rid of physical media, Amazon will be more than willing to take those sales while physical media is still around.
Yeah, to me, there's always still going to be an issue with pre-ordering something from Amazon and sitting there waiting for it to get delivered to your mailbox, hoping you get there on day one, whereas opposed to going to a store. And, I don't pre-order shit anymore, but, if the mood strikes me, Spider-Man 3 comes around, I'll have that ready to go at midnight launch for GameStop. So we'll go for that way.
And who's really going to benefit as physical media gets smaller and smaller in the big box retail stores? eBay.
That's accurate, yeah. What is seemingly not getting smaller and smaller are the negative reviews coming to Concord as they had their second open beta coming for Tech for Gamers from Obaid-ur-Rahman. Basically, being called a generic live service game isn't helping the new 5v5 hero shooter from Firewalk Studios. Also not helping is a review bombing occurring with 42% of players giving it 1 star on a PS5's rating system, as compared to the 35% who gave it 5 stars. So then all those other players in between are actually critically thinking about their score, as opposed to people just smacking it with the 1 or the 5 star. Goes to say it won't take much to believe that upon release, the game will continue to face this sort of activity. I think we discussed this recently, but none of you have played the beta, right?
No, I won't play it.
Yeah.
The problem is, and I'll open this up to the group, is, we know review bombing, except I think in the case of Helldivers, really doesn't do much. It hasn't really changed the course in many games. I can think of 2 instances where review bombing or online petitions really made sense. One, the Helldivers Sony PSN profile controversy, and the representation of Sonic the Hedgehog in his first movie. Those are the 2 instances I think when online uproar solved a egregious error. So I think the issue with Concord, and I don't want to keep beating a dead horse because it seems like every week we're talking about negative news on this. So really this is just a quick topic of, yep, Concord's still facing some issues. I don't think these bombs are going to change my opinion one way or another. Anybody else disagree?
Well,
I'm curious.
Go ahead, Yield.
I was going to say, I'm curious if anybody out there in our community has tried the beta and what their honest opinion of it is. I mean, it hasn't enticed me, and it wasn't enough. Normally, even if I'm mightily interested, this beta is a perfect opportunity for me to be like, yay or nay. But I wasn't even mildly interested. So I'm just curious as to if someone in our community has played it and has a legit, honest opinion on it, not just it sucks,
Tricky.
Well, I had a question for your question. So if Alex has thoughts, I'll let him go first just to keep the point together.
Yeah, I mean, real quick, this game's never going to get a fair shot. It's going to get review bombed. There's been so much negative press about it from its release that, again, Firewalk and Concord are just going to get shit on by a large section of the community. And yeah, that's just it. I don't see this game being successful. I don't think it has a chance from the start. It's fighting an uphill battle. I don't think it can win. And just because whether the mechanics of the game are good or not doesn't matter. Whether the game looks good or not, visually doesn't matter. What matters to people is that they see another game they feel is years late. They feel it's almost like not a complete copy, but something that just it reminds them of other games and it just doesn't in any way interest them. And I think Concord's doomed to failure. How long it actually survives is up for debate. But I don't think this game is going to be a success for Sony.
All right, so my question was Alex kind of answered it. I said, do you guys think that Concord is getting a bad rep because it is a 5v5 shooter, and a lot of people feel like the way we did was like, oh, it was a great trailer, and then our hearts got broken at the end? Or do you think it's actually legit a bad game that just isn't controlling properly? No
one's had too many people shit on it from the start, and no one had a chance to play it. All we had was a glance at it. We had a trailer, and people formed their opinions based on that before they even got a controller in their hands, before they even played it. And like we said, there weren't a ton of people that played in the first beta, and a lot of negativity came out of that. So I think it's just the community has decided that fuck this game, and we're going to make sure it fails. Like it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy where this game fails because the community wants it to fail.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they've only had one beta, and the beta on Steam was limited to people who pre-ordered the game. So you could say that the people that played the game on Steam, they had an interest in the game because they pre-ordered it. Now, of course, Matt, you can correct me on this, but even if they pre-ordered it and played it in the beta, they can still get refunded for that money, correct?
Oh, that's a good question, because I know Steam recently changed their policy that before, if a game was in early access, you were allowed to refund that game no matter how much time prior to the game's release. They recently changed that to say if you put over 2 hours or it's more than 2 weeks from your purchase on an early access game, you are no longer eligible for a refund. I don't know. I don't think that applies to betas because betas are completely different. It gets locked down after a period. So I still think you can technically cancel your beta, or I'm sorry, your pre-order. The difference being, still think, yeah, you have to pay the full price. So I still think it is eligible, but I'll get back to you on that after I have a chance to research it.
And I mean, and the people that played it on the PS5, obviously, they're the ones that, even the people that didn't have any interest in the game, if you were PlayStation Plus, you were able to play in the beta. So I'm sure there's people that probably reviewed it and didn't even play the game. So
that is a thing people can do on the internet.
Yeah,
not just with games.
In this case, I would refer to what the Steam ratings are over the PlayStation 5 ratings, because you could arguably say that the people that played it on Steam had interest in the game enough to pre-order it. So I think that's a better test sample than it is for the PS5.
Mm-hmm. Well, great news. No community questions this week. So we're moving on to the final topic of the week.
Hold on.
Yeah, no, that doesn't count, Tricky. Anyways.
Well, I'm edited this week, so.
You'll just have to take that out, Tricky. Otherwise, we look like fools.
I do.
What has that stopped us before?
I do have a question for you guys, though. Because I started watching The Acolyte this morning, and I'm 4 episodes in. And I have a weird off-the-wall question. And I'm going to go to Yield first, because I think Yield would have the better answer for this. Who do you think would win in a fight? A Jedi or an Immortal from, like, the Highlanders?
Well, my initial... it really depends on what Jedi you're fighting, though. But my gut feeling is saying a Jedi, because you can keep the Highlander at a distance whenever you want with your Force push, depending on how strong you are in the Force. So it kind of depends on the Jedi.
All right, Alex?
I have never seen a single second of Highlander, so...
What is wrong with you?
What the abilities
There can only be one.
A Highlander. Like, I like Christopher Lambert as much as the rest of us, but I've just never seen it before. I don't know the abilities of a Highlander, so I can't say in comparison to what a Jedi can do. Like, Jedis can see into the future. Can a Highlander do that? I mean, so yeah, I just don't know as far as what one can do versus the other. I mean, I know what Jedis can do, but I don't know what a Highlander can do, so I can't actually answer that question.
All right, Matt?
I think a Jedi. Weaponry is going to be
top notch.
The deciding factor here, because Highlander's going to swing his sword, and the Jedi is just going to melt it with his lightsaber in one swipe.
His weapon, or his or her weapon of pure energy, Matt.
Yes.
So, all right. So I'll just double down on it. You don't think the Immortals' ability to not die from, unless their head's chopped off, you don't think that's going to factor into the fight at all?
Dude, you know what lightsabers are particularly good at? Ask Count Dooku. Ask Count Dooku.
I understand that a lightsaber can chop off a head pretty easily, but you have to assume
chop off any limb pretty easy.
Okay,
here's how this fight's going to go. They're going to exchange pleasantries. They're going to get into a fight. The Immortal's going to swing a sword at the Jedi. The Jedi is going to unsheath his lightsaber and slice the sword in two. Then he's going to argue with the Immortal, saying, "You don't want to do this, my friend." And then the Immortal's going to turn back and try to kill him another way. The Jedi is going to stab him in the chest with the lightsaber. He's going to turn around thinking it's done. As he's walking away, suddenly the Force warns the Jedi that there's an issue. He's going to turn around, reignite his lightsaber, and decapitate the Immortal to finish the fight. There, done. Winner,
and then
Jedi.
Become an immortal Jedi.
Which is... No, because here's the thing. Don't you have to be from that plane of existence or that planet to be able to be an immortal, you can't just go around as a human cutting somebody's immortal's head off. It's only your part of that energy. You have to be called to it.
Yeah, I don't think a Jedi would absorb the immortal's powers.
Look, here's the thing: Jedi's, their weaponry, a lightsaber, top notch, very agile, can see into the future, force push, different force abilities. I mean, for God's sakes, in Phantom Menace, Obi-Wan, with using, like, flipped out of that hole to cut Darth Maul in half. I mean, come on now. I don't fully understand the powers of a Highlander, but given what Matt and Yield have said, it doesn't seem like they're really a match for the Jedi. Unless the Jedi just refuses to fight because they would see killing the Highlander as stepping towards the dark side, or using anger in the wrong way and stepping towards the dark side. That would be the only hope for the Highlander, it seems.
All right, we'll finish this by me just telling Alex, go watch the TV show. The show was better than the movies.
Ooh.
You disagree? You disagree, Yield?
I don't know. I haven't. I mean, I've seen a little bit of both.
Okay. I mean, there was a movie with Duncan and Connor at the end, so they did combine the two.
One of the last movies, they did their best to combine the TV series and the movie franchise.
Yeah. But nothing will ever be as good as watching Sean Connery try to play a Spaniard.
Well, nothing makes me think about luscious Scottish Spanish accents as video game actors and actresses trying to do their job and do it well. And unfortunately, due to some things going on in the world, video game actors are now on strike. And here's why. It comes from AP News, Sarah Parvani. Video game performers in Hollywood are officially on strike. Leaders of the Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Arts have billed the issues behind the labor dispute. The union established that the use of AI has posed a threat to performers in video games. This is noted that despite the gains being made over wages and job safety in their negotiations, the union and Hollywood remain split over the regulation of AI. The agreement covers 2,500 off-camera voiceover performers, on-camera performers, so, live motion capture actors and actresses, stunt coordinators, singers, dancers, puppeteers, and background performers. So at the heart of the matter is the use of AI, and a lot of news has come out recently. I think, Activision used AI to make some in-game art, like a skin or something that was purchasable, and it continues to be a threat. And I know some people in that are being affected. So with that said, Tricky, what are your thoughts on this latest movement by SAG-AFTRA?
I'm going to have a very unpopular opinion here.
That's not out of the ordinary.
I'm torn between this because these actors and whatnot they're asking for big wages now because they become very popular in what they do. They're becoming celebrities in themselves. I mean, years ago, we didn't know who Nolan North was, Troy Baker was, Travis Willingham, Laura Bailey. We didn't know these names. They were just the voices behind, and we saw their names in the credits maybe, but we didn't know who they were. Now, you say any of those names and you know who they portrayed and what they do, and the rising cost of having to pay these actors for these roles is definitely chipping into development costs and whatnot. I mean, we've had the report that GTA 6 cost like $2 billion to make, which is just astronomically insane. I'm a proponent of everybody needs to get paid a fair wage. Everybody needs to be able to make a living in their job. But as technology comes on and whatnot, not just actors, but other things have gone by the wayside. I mean, as technology comes on, nobody even knows what a Betamax is. Nobody owns a VCR anymore. We moved on to DVDs, Blu-rays, stuff like that. Stuff moves on. And if these developers are able to cost effectively make these games and we're not losing out on quality, then I don't necessarily have a problem with pushing the actors out. I know that sounds shitty to say because I don't want anybody to lose their job, but if they're able to cost effectively do it and not need to pay these exorbitant fees for these actors, I don't really have a problem with it. And I'll, before somebody else speaks up, I'll just say, like, look at the case like in the next Horizon game. Lance Reddick played a pivotal role in the Horizon series. Now we've lost him. And I've said this on the show before. Should we?
It's not like replacing, like, using AI to recreate some Lance Reddick in that game. I mean, he's passed away. It's not like he's losing his job. No, he's not part of the series anymore by default.
No, but what
somebody who's living could lose their job.
Somebody living could lose their job. But my point being is that if in the past they would have had to written out Lance Reddick's character, Silence, right? Silence was his name. Yes,
correct.
They would have had to wrote that character off in the next game. Now with the use of AI, they could continue the storyline without derailing it. Now, but I know that necessity. I know there's arguments for and against it. I see both sides. I'm just saying, I particularly don't have a problem with AI taking over because as time moves on, as technology grows, there are going to be losses in this world. Certain jobs are going to have to go away. Certain professions are going to have to go away. I think this is just a sign of the times. As AI gets bigger, some things are going to get pushed out. And I feel for these guys. I don't want them to lose their jobs. But necessarily, I mean, this is just the way the world works and sometimes.
I love how Tricky's like, I don't want these people to lose their jobs.
I don't. I don't want anybody to lose their jobs. I don't want anybody to lose their jobs. But, if the argument's going to be, okay, well, we'll pay these actors their money, but your games are going to go up to $100 a piece, there's going to be a lot of people that revolt against that.
Okay, but Tricky, here's the thing. Like, I'll give you an example from my job where we use, like, inventory systems and, like, suggested orders and stuff like that. Someone like me who orders the product, who actually goes through, counts shit, and orders product based on what we need and projected sales, like, a job like me could be pushed out. A job that I've done for 13 years now could be pushed out just because they want to use a program to basically do, like, a perpetual inventory system where it's just like, you sell this much, all right, ship more out. Like, you're forcing people out of their jobs. So for me, like, something like this is somewhat more connected than people might think. And I get it. Like you said, technology is improving and companies want to save money. And if it's there's the talk, there's always I was about to say there's the talk of would it save customers money, but let's be honest, companies aren't going to try to save customers money. They're going to try to save as much money as possible.
Yes.
So I do feel a part of this in my own job, not in the same way, but technology kind of pushing people out and then looking to turn to that instead of hiring people to do a job. Look, man, go to YouTube and, like, look how many AI generated voices are in YouTube videos now. Like, I've been watching, we've been watching House of the Dragon, and I'll go and, like, watch a video or a short or something like the 10 most powerful dragons in Westeros. And the AI voice is fucking garbage. And you see these videos all over the place. They can't pronounce names correctly. You hear the name of a dragon, it's like, what the fuck is that? Like, I see people in the comments be like, please delete this video and pronounce the name of the dragon correctly. So you've got all these YouTube videos, and this is very small because obviously on YouTube no one's being pushed out of their job, but you have these videos with really shitty AI voices. Now, granted, there will be better technology out there that some of these companies will use, but I understand using the technology to your benefit to make things cheaper, to make things better, but I also don't think that AI is a better replacement for the work of human beings. Like, some people out there are super talented and just getting pushed out by these AI programs, I don't think it's a good thing. Look, do I expect companies to use AI to some degree? Sure, but do I want completely AI-made games?
No.
No, I want human beings at the core thinking about these and making decisions. Oh, we put this collectible here. Well, why did we do that? Well, here's why. I mean, video games have become so successful and so popular, and we've grown up with them being made by humans this entire time. Why the fuck do I want to switch completely to, you're buying medium, digital, physical is one thing, but when the core of the game is being made by a program, I don't know if I'm so keen on as tricky on that.
So, thinking on the subject, the issue is I see where you're coming from, Tricky, except I think in this type of environment, in this type of economy, in this type of world, you're just going to see all of those gains made by eliminating the actors and using AI is just going to go to line the pockets of executives and shareholders. It's not going to find its way back to the development team. It's not going to find its way back to paying other actors higher fees. Using the silence argument, yeah, you could do that, but that also could put another actor who has a similar voice to Lance Reddick out of a job. Like you saw the entire thing that happened with Rick and Morty and losing, quote unquote, losing Justin Roiland. But now you have two voice actors taking over those roles, sounding very similar to what Justin did in his talented experience. And now there's two people fulfilling that and getting paid to do that job. So you could have gone the route of AI, but they opted for the use of actual voice actors. And I think it's going to be a problem because at some point AI is going to make things indistinguishable from real life. And nobody's going to know any different. And I think getting to that point, these people just reasonably want job protection, just like our conversation last week about unions. This is a very similar thing to the union, the unionization of different game developers. And they want protections to say, yeah, I'm going to be able to have my job. I'm going to be able to wake up and go to work and earn money for me and my family, because that's what people want. And, yeah, if they need to come back and make that agreement, say, okay, maybe we'll accept less wage if you make the promise not to use AI. That's what a negotiation's about. But to just be blanket out there and say, well, it's a good way to save money. I could tell you, I've gone to plenty of McDonald's and seen the use of the kiosks. And, sometimes it makes things easier. Sometimes it makes it more difficult. And then just like I explained in my experience in the retail world, where self-checkouts are beyond frustrating. Even as a consumer, they're beyond frustrating, but that's what's available. And I guarantee you that extra money that they're saving by not having 4 different cashiers open is not making it back to the cashiers. It's going back to the business.
Do you get a discount because you're ringing it up yourself and bagging it yourself?
So here's actually my thing. I was very frustrated. V and I went food shopping today, and we go to a Stop and Shop. And as part of the members program, you go up, you scan your card, and you get a little scan gun. And as I go along in the store, I'm scanning my items, putting them in my bag. I go up to the self-checkout, I scan my scanner, and then I pay and I'm on my way. Easily the best thing I've ever experienced in a store because it gets me in and out very quickly. If I had to ring all of those items myself at the self-checkout, I would never do it because I hate sitting at self-checkout just going through everything. But today we go in and the system's broken. It's down. And I'm like, all right, well, shit. What am I going to do? Okay. The other thing that annoys me is we have a food budget. We're going in and now I have no idea what my cart's bringing up to be because I don't know.
You're not having to run in total.
Yeah, it's like I'm not Rain Man. I can't think about what is in the cart and how much that is. So the issue I have is in certain cases, technology definitely benefits the consumer. And that's where I advocate that it needs to be applied. But the second the technology benefits the retailer, the seller, the developer, the manufacturer, that's where we need to start being concerned.
And Tricky, I do want to point out, you talk about, the people, the actors and the voice actors and all those people, and you seem to have, not a hatred for them, but you seem to basically say all these people getting overpaid and all that and complain about their wages. You got to remember that not everybody is paid at the same rate. Not everyone has the same amount of money or the same resources. So there may be some people in Hollywood who are getting paid a lot, but some of these other voice actors and actors, mocap people in video games may not be getting paid nearly the same much or have the same resume. And so them getting pushed out definitely matters, as opposed to, you know, someone who's worked in movies for 20 years and has worked on numerous TV series and has a, you know, a big career and makes, you know, 1 million for every filming day they're there. You know, not everybody is on the same playing field when it comes to what they make from these projects.
Well, no, that's why I pointed out, like, we didn't know these, like, Troy Baker's name and Nolan North's names. We didn't know their names years ago. Now we do. So going out to Troy Baker to do the voice, you know, that adds some prestige to your game. You could say Troy Baker's doing our voice. That adds to the cost of the development. Where, I mean, if you had somebody that can, you know, do Troy Baker's voice, great. But, you know, then you're going to have...
Do you really like the idea of technology that can replicate your voice or anyone's voice?
No.
That's a whole other category. That's a whole other...
Yes, but if you're sitting here saying that, yeah, go ahead and use this technology and make it better.
Oh, no. Hold on a second. Let me be clear. I'm not advocating for the fact of AI takes over all these roles. I want to be clear. I'm not advocating for that. What I'm saying is, as technology gets better and AI is capable of doing that, it's going to force the industry to make those decisions. I don't want these people to lose their job.
But you seem, and you said yourself, you're for them using AI.
No.
And if people lose their jobs, that's just the way it goes.
Listen, if they go to make The Last of Us 3 and they use AI to, you know, redo Joel's voice,
Boycott it.
My problem with that scenario is the fact that I feel like after watching the behind the scenes of the Joel and Ellie video from them in the farmhouse from the first game, there was a lot of emotion in that scene. And I saw the emotion in their voices and their movements and whatnot. AI, in my opinion, as it currently stands, cannot replicate that. So that's where I'm saying AI, I don't want AI to take over. But
you're kind of on both sides of this argument.
Yeah,
hold on.
You started out where you were all for it.
Let me finish, please. On the opposite, I think as technology grows and AI gets better, we're going to be able to see those emotions. And at that point, it's going to force, not a choice, it's going to force the industry to go more AI because it's going to be more cost effective. It's going to be more cheaper to do it. So therefore, I think the technology is eventually going to force all of these actors to lose their jobs. I don't want that to happen, but I think that's what's going to happen. It's the same argument of like us arguing about physical versus digital. We are going to an all digital future. We know that. Yield is going to fight it tooth and nail all the way down to his last breath. But Yield,
down with this shit.
But Yield, I think you know that's coming.
Oh yeah.
That's my point of this, is that this is coming. This is going to happen.
Okay, Tricky. So the way you started out your point way back when definitely made it seem like you were in favor of using AI. So you're acknowledging that it's kind of, to you, it's inevitability, but you side with the video game workers where you understand why there would be a strike.
No, I'm with them on their strike. I mean, as Matt pointed out, this is another union fighting for their workers. I'm with the people that are on strike. But I think it's a losing battle.
Okay, the way you started was very confusing because it did not seem that was what you were trying to convey.
Then I apologize.
I would concur.
All right,
yeah, no, you don't have to apologize. I just want to make sure that the way you actually feel gets out there and there's no misunderstanding.
All right, Yield, we kind of like said all our opinions. What are your thoughts on this whole thing?
So, as I've seen AI, like Alex says, I see him in Facebook Reels. As I've seen him become more relevant, I am more against it for the simple fact of I feel, and this is just a personal opinion, I have no facts behind it. You take people with no talent and they portray like they've got talent. And you're taking away from people who could either develop that talent or have natural talent, whether that would be art, voice acting, directing, songwriting, you name it, what they're doing. The only, and I mean only, and this is even a tricky slope when I say only, that I would be okay with it would be like in the instance of, I can't remember the actor's name, but Silence.
Lance Reddick.
Only if, one, you can't find somebody whose voice is really, really similar, or two, you have gotten okay from the family, and the money that he would have made from acting goes to that family, and you use AI in place because we just can't write this character off. Then and like I said, that's slippery. I could see me being okay with it, but I'm pretty much like 99.9% against AI because it's just you're allowing someone with no talent to go click, click, enter, and voila, AI does all your work for you. And then like Matt said, that money is not going, or more than likely is not going into the pockets of that person that went click, click. It's going to the shareholders and the executives and everybody else that went, hey, that's a great idea using AI. We just made a bunch more record profit. So there, I'm off my soapbox for the moment.
All right.
All right. Well, I think that brings us to the end of our show. It is that time for call-outs. Yield, we'll go to you first.
Shout out to Matt, Alex, and Tricky for recording this evening. Shout out to everybody who was hanging out in the Twitch chat. Shout out to my wife, who found me a really cool Snoopy bowl at a garage sale this past week. Shout out to my niece, who had a birthday. Shout out to all the pimps and the madams of the whoredom. Thank you for downloading, listening, hanging out, playing games with us. Shout out to Nitro and Alex for some Rocket League this week. And that'll do it.
All right. Alex?
Give a shout out to the listeners, our wonderful community, the fuel to the fire of this trophy horse. So thank you all very much for your continued support of the show. It means everything to us, and we wouldn't keep running without y'all. So, just appreciate you all so very much. Shout out to my co-host, Tricky, Yield, and Matt. Last but not least, give a shout out to Ashley. I love you, hon. That is going to be the end of my shout outs.
Tricky?
I didn't know if you were going to go last or I was going to go last. Shout out to all the listeners. Thank you to Saber, who was in the chat. Saber, you brought up something in the chat. I'm going to do the research and look into it and possibly report on it next week. But shout out to Sweet Mama D. Shout out to the Goddess. And a tribute to my landlord.
And closing out, thank you to everyone listening. Thank you, you gents, for recording tonight. Thank you to Saber in the chat tonight, bringing up some conversation. Shout out to the Channel 3 community. If you want to gamify your social media, go to channel3.gg, where you can talk with a bunch of like-minded fellows and ladies about gaming and the fun of gaming and earn some XP for doing stuff. So come on out to that. And thank you to my wife V for everything you do and on and off the show. This has been episode 632. Thank you, everyone. And until next time, Tricky.
Happy trophy hunting.
See ya.
Later, and let's rock out.